Hi everybody, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. It's Mom of Two, Wife of One. Did you guys miss me? Did you guys miss talking about these couples? Did you guys miss talking about the show? Feels like it's been a really long time, and it actually has. But if you are already subscribed to my channel and if you are already, click the notification bell so you don't miss videos, I've posted other videos in between the last season of Married at First Sight because I want to make sure you guys still saw my lovely face and still got information or still, were entertained by me. So if you guys are new to my channel, hello and welcome. I am Mama Two, Wife of One. I obviously by my name, I have one husband and I have two babies. I'm a content creator, I'm a writer, I'm an editor, I'm an author, I'm a lot of different things all rolled into one. Everything involved with communications is normally, what I do. But I'm here because we are entering a new season of Married at First Sight. It is a reality show that comes on Lifetime on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. And every week, I'm going to sit here and discuss the show, talk about the couples, talk about who I think is going to make it, who's going to get divorced, red flags that I'm seeing, and all of that delicious stuff. So, like I do every first episode of Married at First Sight, I go over the premise of the show because some people are just joining my channel for the first time and have never watched the show before. I don't know how. We're on season 16. The show's been on for a minute. But for those of you who are not familiar, the premise of Married at First Sight is that they go to a city. This season, they're in Nashville, Tennessee. They go to the city, and they, meaning the show and these relationship experts, they go to a city and they're basically looking for people who are looking to get married. So they have hundreds of thousands of people who fill out this questionnaire that has probably a minimum of 200 questions, asking them everything from how long have you been in a relationship to what kind of sex do you like to what kind of spouse are you looking for, all kinds of things. It's very detailed from what I've been told. And after they go through all of this, those hundreds of thousands of people are dwindled down to about 100 people. So we're talking 50 men and 50 women. After that, the experts come to the city. They meet with probably all 100 of these people separately and just kind of talk to them about what they're looking for, why they think they're ready to get married. Again, how they are in relationships, tell me about your parents' relationship, just like all kinds of stuff, just kind of get a vibe from them. And then once they do that, those 100 people are whittled down even more. And then the experts make these home visits, these surprise home visits. And the whole point of the home visit is to see how you're living, to see if you're clean, see if you're dirty, kind of get an idea of your personality, because you can look around somebody's room, just even one room of their house, to see what kind of personality they have. For instance, surrounding me now, I have this beautiful background, but in front of me, everything is in a specific place. Everything is purple. So you can tell that I love the color purple. You can tell that I'm organized. You can tell what's important to me by what is within reach. So the first thing in reach is my purple mouse. And I have my glasses that I normally wear when I'm looking at the screen. And I also have candy because I love sweets. So those are just things you can tell just by looking at my stuff. So they're going through every room of the people's houses. Dr. Pepper, who's one of the experts, she goes through the drawers of the women to kind of get an idea of, their underwear situation and the kind of clothes that they wear. Do they have a lot of pictures of their friends and family up? After the home visits, that group of people is now down to maybe about 20 people or so. Out of those 20 people, they pick 5 men and 5 women, and they decide to match them up to be married at first sight. Now, the premise of the show is just like the name of the show, Married at First Sight. So once they pick those 10 singles, they go to them and say, hey, we found you a match. You are getting married in 2 weeks. The only thing they're told about their potential spouse is their ring size, so they can buy the ring. But it's an actual marriage. It's not just on paper. It's not just for the show. They actually get married. So this means that we follow the brides and the grooms as they pick out wedding rings, as they pick out wedding dresses, as they try on tuxes, as they tell their friends and family. And then when the wedding day comes, you see them walk down the aisle. And when they get to the aisle, that's when they meet the person who they are married to. From that point on, they are having the wedding. They're having the wedding night. They're going on a honeymoon paid for by the show, normally to an island somewhere for about a week. And they come home and immediately move in together at a central location that the show has picked. So the show puts all 5 couples in the same apartment complex so that they can lean on each other and have support from each other because they're all going through the same thing at the same time. But they're living with each other. They're merging their friends together, their family, their pets in some instances. And after 8 weeks, they have to decide, are we going to stay married or are we going to get a divorce? Even though they're married for 8 weeks, the show itself lasts about 16 to 17 weeks. So the timing is really off, and that's something to really keep in mind if you continue to watch these videos throughout this process, because the timing is always really off. So tonight was, or last night was, the first official episode of Married at First Sight. It was called Marry Me in Tennessee. All the couples have been told that they're getting married, and they've all told their family and their friends. And we saw one couple about to get married. Now, this was my one annoyance with the show. The show is already so long, and not just long in an actual episode, but the season itself is already so incredibly long. And this is the first time in a long time that I can remember that on the first episode, we didn't even get to see a full wedding. Normally, you at least get to see them getting married and going up the aisle and at least having a conversation. But we didn't even get that. Kind of upset about that. Another thing is that my issue, and I've said this plenty of times before, I believe that if you sign up for the show, there should be a few things that are required. First of all, there should be an age requirement. If you are under the age of 30, you should not be signing up for this show. Most people sign up for the show and they say, oh, I've just been so bad at relationships. I can't seem to pick a good person. I've been trying so long. I really want to get married. I deserve to be a wife. I deserve to be a husband. I really want this. And I've been trying so hard and nothing's working for me. This is my last chance. This is my last resort. You cannot say that if you're 25 years old. You just can't. And for one of the people, and we'll get to her a little later, she's 25 and her mom signed her up for the show. So what does that say about your mother? That your mother is so desperate for you to get married that she signed her 25-year-old daughter up for this show. Her daughter, yes, has had bad relationships and nobody is serious, blah, blah, blah. I get that. They signed her up for a matchmaker. Like, not this. So I had an issue with that. But neither here nor there. We're going to start with the first couple, Kirsten and Shaquille. Kirsten is 32. Shaquille is 31. This is a Black couple. And I don't want to go into, basically nothing really happened. She got her wedding dress. He got his tux. And then it shows him walking up the aisle. It shows her about to walk up the aisle. So they're going to be the first couple to get married, but we didn't get to see their marriage last night. But I will say about Shaquille that I love that when he went to go pick out his tux, he's a mentor. So he had some of his mentees with him as opposed to like his boys. He had his mentees with him to pick out his tux. I thought that was really sweet. I like that. I also liked when he was in the groom suite with his groomsmen, I could tell that he was surrounded by some really supportive, dope men. And he was comfortable enough. And I was so happy that they made a safe space for him to be vulnerable, because he was crying and basically talking about how he's had to fight a lot of silent battles. And it's been a long road to get here. And I've been praying. And I know that this is what God wants for me. God wants me to have a wife. And I think that's why God brought me to Nashville in the first place. And, men getting emotional is not as taboo and is not as unheard of as it once was. But I love the fact that, again, he's surrounded by other Black men who are giving him that safe space to be his authentic self. And I love that he wasn't afraid to be his authentic self on camera, too. One thing that he said when he said that he's been fighting silent battles, a note that I put is that hopefully he'll open up to his wife about what those battles are. It's one thing to be vulnerable around your friends who already know the stuff that you've gone through. It's another thing to open yourself up to a stranger. And one mistake that some people make in this show is that they focus so much on the stranger part as opposed to the my wife, my husband part. Yes, this is a complete stranger, but you signed up for the show knowing you're going to marry a stranger. But at the end of the day, this person now has the title of your spouse. So this spouse cannot help you, cannot be there for you in every sense of the word if you don't open up to them. And it may not happen right away, but the hope is that within that 8-week time frame, that Shaquille will open up to Kirsten about whatever he's gone through and whatever he's still battling. They both said that they want someone who is God-fearing, who is ambitious, and who is educated, and they both, fit what they're looking for. But the other caveat of the show is that because the people don't know anything about the person they're marrying other than their ring size, there's no way to know if they're going to be attracted to the person. We can look and say, oh, like I can look and say, Shaquille is an attractive guy. Kirsten is an attractive woman. But everybody has their type. So even though I think they're attractive and the experts think they're attractive, that doesn't mean they're going to be attracted to each other. So it's always kind of a gamble. And some people focus so much on the attraction not being there that they don't take the time to look to see what else is there. While other people, the attraction isn't there in the beginning, but in getting to know that person and in seeing why they were matched with that person, the attraction grows. So it could be hit or miss. It depends on how much that person really wants to be married and how much they're willing to really give this a chance. So, one thing about Shaquille, his life motto is do it scared, which I love. I thought that was really cool. And one thing they did show in the preview, because we didn't see them getting married, but in the preview for next episode, we did see that at the altar, when it was time to kiss the bride, she gave him her cheek. And that was an indication that she is not attracted to him. Now, this is what I will say about Kirsten. I personally, just from the little bit that I saw, I think she may be a little high maintenance. She's very, very pretty. And I think it's clear that she's going to be a traditional Southern woman in terms of, oh, I'm going to take care of my husband and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and do this. But, and that's not a bad thing to have an idea of how you want to treat your husband. But I'm going to get on that a little bit later. I'm going to expound on that a little bit. But I think in addition to that, I think she also has a very clear idea of what a husband is and what a man is and is not. The problem with that is that you already have a solid idea of what this husband looks like. It's hard to really have that idea when you have not yet met the husband. And the fear that's there is if you already have this idea of who he's supposed to be, not just what he looks like, but his values and his morals and how he treats you and how he handles the household and all this stuff, is one thing to have things that you like, but if you have an idea of this is a man and this is a husband, and if he doesn't fit those things, then the fear is that you're going to consider him less of a man, or you're going to consider him a bad husband. And it's like, okay, there has to be some compromise here. If I say I want my husband to do A, B, and C, but my husband comes in saying, okay, well, I always thought that the husband did E, F, G. Then it's like, okay, so let's compromise. Maybe if you do A and E, then I can do F and A or whatever. You know, I'm using a bunch of letters, so it's confusing. But either way, it's a matter of having that conversation. And I really hope for all the couples that on the honeymoon night, when they're having conversations, you know, some of them maybe have sex, some may not. But hopefully they're having a conversation about what each other's expectations are when it comes to a husband and a wife. You may not be able to talk about all your expectations in one night, because I'm sure those expectations are going to change and grow. And there may be some things you didn't even know that you wanted until you actually get into a marriage. But it's very important to talk about those expectations because A, you don't want to disappoint anybody. And B, having that communication up front will lessen some of the misunderstandings that come up, because everybody communicates differently. If you are dissatisfied with something that your spouse is doing, because this person is still a stranger, you may be a lot more hesitant to call them out on stuff that you don't like that they're doing, as opposed to stating from the very beginning, hey, these are the kind of things that I've always envisioned a husband would do, or I've always envisioned a wife would say. Have that conversation from the very beginning. That goes for anybody, even if you're not doing married at first sight. When you first get engaged with somebody, I'm sure you guys talk about getting married before the actual engagement takes place, but have that conversation about what exactly it is that you're looking for and what you, again, imagine your life is going to be like with this person. I think she has an amazing body. She got a big old booty, big old nice southern booty. So I'm sure he's going to love that. I liked her dress. I liked his tux. I thought they were pretty. But I don't think she's a bad person at all. But I do think that she's going to be a little high maintenance. I had an issue with something she said in a part of the show. So all of the grooms met up and all of the brides met up. They kind of met up and had drinks, and then they also met up and had their joint bachelor and bachelorette parties. But one of the brides talked about how she likes girls' night out and she really hopes her husband's okay with her hanging out with the girls. And Kirsten said, no, a wife needs to, I need to make sure I quote her correctly. She said, a wife needs to be at home cooking and rubbing her man's feet, not having a girls' night out. Now, this is the thing. First of all, I flinched when she said it because I personally hate feet. So I ain't rubbing nobody's feet. Man, woman, child, I hate feet. So that's like number one. That's just a personal thing. That's just for me. It may be fine with feet, and that's fine. Your girl's not. But her saying a wife needs to. The problem with that statement, all wives are not created equal. All husbands are not created equal. it's fine for you to have that mindset. And that's why I was like, oh, she's a traditionalist. She traditionally thinks women should be the ones at home cooking and at home doing this, this, and this. It's not a bad thing to think that, I guess, but instead of, and she didn't say this to the girl, fortunately, this was like what she said in her individual thing, but all wives don't do the same things. And I think that's because not all men require the same things. What if you marry a man who prefers to do all the cooking? Then he doesn't want his wife to be at home cooking all the time because he wants to cook. What if you have a man who's like me, who don't like feet? He don't want nobody touching his feet, so he don't want you rubbing his freaking feet. And I know that those are just examples she threw out there, but I think it's very dangerous to say what a wife needs or should do and what a husband needs and should do, because again, that differs depending on your relationship, which again means she needs to have that conversation with Shaquille about what she's looking for from a husband and ask him specifically, what are you looking for in a wife? Because she has an idea of what a wife is supposed to do, but that may not be what he needs from her. And that conversation needs to take place sooner rather than later. But I had a problem with her saying that too. I was like, girl, I guess, sure. I don't want to say who's going to stay together and who's not just yet. I think I'm going to wait, and I don't normally do this. I'm going to wait until after we've seen all the weddings, and then I'll make my predictions about which couples I think are going to make it and which couples I think are going to get a divorce. Because I just feel like I don't know enough about a lot of the couples. So the next couple we're going to start with is, not start with, but talk about is Dominique and McKinley. So Dominique is 25, McKinley is 34. She's black, but I think she may be mixed with something, and he's white. So we've seen some interracial couples before, but not this particular variation. So she's the one whose mother signed off for the show. I didn't really appreciate that. And she talked about, my mom was a single mom and she and I are very close and we talk multiple times a day. And I love her and she's just my best friend in the whole wide world. And then in having her interview, she calls her mother and puts her mother on speakerphone to ask her mother, like, okay, Mom, can you tell the people what you thought about my past relationships? And on one hand, oh, that's so sweet. But the way I took it was, this is your interview. Aren't you supposed to be telling these people this stuff yourself? Like, you were in the relationship, so why can't you speak for yourself? I think that could potentially be a red flag. Not saying that your mother can't be your best friend. Not saying you can't be close with your mother. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying though is whenever you are super, super close and dependent on someone, whether it's your mother, a friend, a sibling, whatever, sometimes it takes time for you to allow somebody else to come in to take that top spot. And because this is a stranger, you don't have that time of dating to get used to someone taking the top spot. You're immediately getting married. And I don't know if 8 weeks is enough time for her to put the husband above her mom. I don't think she would necessarily want to do that. She's also the one that says she wants to have girls' night out. I don't think anything's wrong with a girls' night out. And I talk to people about this a lot. I love my husband. I am in love with my husband. He is in love with his wife. We would not survive as husband and wife if we were up under each other 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365, sometimes 366 days out of the year. That would not work for us. When we're together, everything is great and we have fun and it's wonderful. But we both know that before I met you, before I was a wife, before I was a girlfriend, I still had friends. I still got family. He still has friends. He still has family. We're not taking those people out of our lives just to be up under each other. He comes first. That's what that means, that my husband definitely comes first. But he would never, he encourages me to go out to be with my girls. If I say, oh, my girl's in town and, she's going to be here for a little bit. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, so when are you going to see her? I don't have to, I'm not asking him permission, but I'll just tell him like, oh, man, my girl had a really rough day. I think I'm going to go like hang out with her. He'll be like, all right, well, okay, well, tell her I said hi. And it's the same thing when he goes out. Like, I don't understand that mindset of, well, no, you're married now, you can't have girls' night out. That's not what that means. Now, it may mean that you don't go out as often as you did before. And I think that's a compromise. And that's not a bad compromise. If you normally go out with your girls every single weekend, let's say 4 weekends out of the month, and now you're married, maybe you curb that 4 weekends to 2 weekends. You're still having girls' night out, but maybe some of those weekends, instead of being out with your girls, you're going on a date with your man. That's not a bad thing. That's called compromising. That's called making room in your life for somebody else. And again, with Dominique, I don't know how often she hangs with her girls, but the fact that she said that as a concern, and the fact that she even called her mom in the interview was like, okay, I'm hoping that she is ready and able to make room for another person in her life who, again, is going to take precedence over her friends and over her mom. And also the fact that her mom signed her up for this. Again, if you're 25 years old, she said that she's been with people who basically she feels like they had a fear of commitment. They, were good guys, whatever, but they didn't want to take that next step. And she wants to take that next step, whether it's marriage or it's a solid commitment. I don't know exactly what the next step is for her, but it's like, you're 25. Do you really want to get married? Because your mom signed you up for the show. You didn't sign up for the show. Your mom did. That already to me is like, you want a commitment, but just because she even said, I'm looking for a full-time cuddle buddy. You don't have to be married to have a full-time cuddle buddy. Again, your mom should have hooked you up with just a matchmaker who could help you find like a man that you can date and get married. Or maybe, I don't know if she's on dating apps, but if you're on dating apps, maybe hire somebody to help you make sure your profile looks good or make sure you're on the right dating apps or whatever. But I don't think she should be on the show. That's my personal opinion. Don't quite like that. That makes no sense to me. And let's see, did I put anything else about her? Oh yeah, basically said that she should have waited until she was at least 30 to get on the show. And she should have done it herself if she really wanted to do it. So don't know about her. And then her husband, her soon-to-be husband, McKinley, he's been in Nashville for less than a year. So I was confused. Like, why are you rushing to be married if you haven't even been in Nashville a year? You can't be like, oh my gosh, I've been trying so long and it's just nobody here. It's been like a few months, dude. What are you doing? I think he said 4 months. I could be mistaken, but I know it was less than a year. You've been here just a few months. So why are you rushing to get married? And you don't even got a place to stay. He's staying with some family friends, which is fine, but it's like, you don't have a place to stay. So even if you found a girl and if you dated the traditional way and wanted to get married, you don't got a place to take this girl. And this thing is an experiment. So yes, you get an apartment with this girl for 8 weeks. After those 8 weeks, what if y'all decide to stay together? Where the heck is she going to live? You don't have a house. You don't have an apartment. Again, you don't seem like you're in the right place to necessarily get married right now, because what do you have to offer a woman? She ain't got nowhere to live. I'm very confused by that. And again, the fact that you've only been here for a few months. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand that at all. And he talked about how his parents have been married for 45 years and he wants that. And it's like, okay, that's fair. I get that. He said he was on the verge of getting engaged, but then the girl got engaged to somebody else. And then when he talked about it, it made him tear up. Now, I don't know how long ago that was, but the fact that it's still impacting him that way makes me think that he's not completely over it just yet. And so I don't know that. I don't know about that. For the two of them, I don't know if either of them should have signed up for this show. Just don't know. So they're very iffy for me. Next is Nicole and Chris. Nicole is 32. Chris is 36. I don't know if Chris is from Nashville. Nicole is very, very New York. Her accent is really thick and she's very, very New York. And my only concern, if Chris is from Nashville, and I'm not knocking New Yorkers and I'm not knocking Southerners. So before y'all get y'all panties in a wad, keep in mind I'm not knocking either region. But I will say that the personalities of New Yorkers is vastly different from the personalities of Southerners. And there could be a clash there, potentially. And it's just going to take some finessing. It's going to take some strong communication, but it's going to take some patience when it comes to dealing with the potential communication barriers. I'm just going to say it like that to be nice. She also, she does this weird thing where she's at piggy puppet theater with her dog, where she has these like pigs that are like finger puppets and she like puts on a show for him. I know that people who can be dog people and cat people can be very intense. That just seems weird. And it's like, okay, that's what you do, whatever. Why would you admit that on camera? Like, that's just a strange thing to do, I personally think. I think it's weird. I'm going to say it. That's weird. I don't get it. I don't know why we had to know about that. I don't know. That was just strange to me. But whatever. She said that she pushes too hard to make relationships work when she should be walking away. That's not a good sign, obviously. And she said her personality can be a bit much, but she feels hopeful. Okay. He has never lived with a girl before or been engaged before. And he seems to be quiet. He's an introvert, but he's kind of quirky and he's a little goofy and he likes comic relief. He likes to do impressions. Hope he doesn't do it at the altar, but that's another story. And she seems to be like she's very much the life of the party, very loud and in your face, and seems to be kind of silly and goofy too. I mean, she does like piggy puppet theater. She gotta be a little like nuts. So I think maybe they'll be okay. They're both, looking for that forever person. They both, I guess, have similar personalities. She's a little more loud and gregarious, and he's a little more introverted. And so I did make a notation of that because of her big personality. That could be hard to digest for some people. That could be a bit of a turnoff for people, maybe. But I know the hope is that, with her him being introverted means that he's going to pull from her being lively, and it's going to make him comfortable and want to like step out there a little bit more. It's like, that's the hope. That's not always a guarantee. Who knows? We'll see. I don't know. And the next couple is Jasmine and Eris. They're another Black couple. Jasmine is 31. Eris is 39. I think he is going to be very similar to Olajuwon from a previous season in that he's never had a stable, steady relationship. He said that he was emotionally available one time, and when he was 28, which was 11 years ago, it's like he got hurt and he set his guard up ever since. He didn't say he was in a steady relationship with that person, but he was just emotionally vulnerable with that person. But he said he's basically never been in a real relationship before. And again, if you've never been in a real relationship, you don't jump into marriage because there are certain simple rules that everybody follows in a real relationship that you need to go through before you just jump straight to marriage. That's such a weird thing to me that's your go-to right after no relationship at all. Now immediately marriage. I don't understand that mindset. And his cousin was the same way. She was like, no, this doesn't make any sense. You need to date, maybe, join some apps to do something, but marriage is not for you, not right now. That doesn't make any sense. I'm with her. That I think that's a recipe that can be a recipe for disaster. That makes no sense whatsoever. But let's see. His friend said that he's picky. And he keeps saying he's looking for the perfect person, but he's understanding now at this stage in his life that there is no such thing because he knows that he's not perfect. He's hoping that someone will elevate him and help him become better. I think that could be a tall order. Not everyone signing up for that show is signing up for a project to help somebody else become better. I mean, I think that naturally happens when you're married, that you do help the person kind of see themselves in a different light. I think eventually you help them become better. I don't think that's your goal going in. And the fact that he's specifically looking for that, I don't know if that's the best way to go about doing things. But, and that also assumes the person is going to be patient enough. But again, certain things that he should already know how to do or how not to do, he would have gotten that education through a regular relationship, through actually dating and having a girlfriend. And the fact that he hasn't had that at 39, she may be like, I mean, you should already know this. What am I doing here? And again, that's assuming she'll have the patience for it. And who knows if she will or if she won't. I don't know. She, on the other hand, has won several pageant titles. She coaches competitive cheerleading. She is gorgeous. And I put that I think so far they're the most attractive looking couple together. Because I think he's attractive and she's very, very pretty, but she seems very nice, very humble. She doesn't seem stuck up at all. I actually like her personality a lot. I think out of all the girls, she's one of the girls whose personality I really, really, really like. And then nothing really happened with him. And I didn't even have anything to say about her. I mean, she's, I like her. I do like her. And the last couple is Gina and Clint. Gina's 35, Clint is 40. Gina owns her own salon and she's a hairstylist. She's an entrepreneur. She's very, very pretty, gorgeous woman. She has had a long-term relationship. She's very career driven but in her long-term relationship, he broke up with her. So she poured her heartbreak into her business and she's been told she's intimidating she's been told she's intimidating. Clint likes exploring new things and cultures and foods. He's an adventurer and he's a sailor. He races sailboats. he did say something that was, I think he's the one that said he's a professional life liver. That is stupid. Like, don't say stuff like that. That makes no sense. But he works, like he does, he's a sailing instructor, so he does have jobs, and he likes to spend a lot of time outside. Apparently she likes to spend a lot of time outside too, and she's also adventurous. But I guess part of my concern with them is that she is in the process of building a brick and mortar salon, basically. I think like another location for her business. And, that takes some time. I think she said it'll be done in the next 3 months. And then in addition to that, once it's done, she's probably gonna have to stick around for a little bit to make sure it's being run properly. And if he likes to always be on the go and he's looking for someone to always like be on the go with him, the question, and her mom kind of brought it up. She was like, I want to make sure that if you do this, you actually take the time to dedicate to this relationship. You work really hard. You've done a lot of great things with your business and you're wonderful at what you do. But if you want a relationship, if you want this husband, if you want to be successful, you have to make sure that that person and that relationship is a priority as well, which I do agree with. So hopefully that doesn't cause, I mean, I think that potentially could be a red flag. I don't think it'll be a huge deal since she does love adventure and she loves like traveling and all that stuff. It's just a matter of her making the time to do it and him being patient with her as she finds time to fit him in, basically. But I say that I don't know about him because when the grooms got together, okay. This is one question that came up when the grooms got together. Eris asked them all, when's the last time you guys had sex, right? And one of the young men, I think it was Chris, maybe, he was like, oh man, I haven't had sex in a year. He's like, as soon as I knew I was going to start this process too, like I definitely got rid of my apps and I was focused on this. Like girls didn't give me their number. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this because I really want to get married and I wanted to keep my mind clear. And both Eris and Clint were like, well, no, we had sex 2 weeks ago. Like sex is important to me. And it was before I found out I had a wife, but we had sex 2 weeks ago. And it's like, I mean, it's not a bad thing because obviously I'm not going to judge them for that. The process I know is really long. There's no guarantee they're going to be chosen for the process. So I'm not mad at that. But then Clint like cheered like, oh, let's cheer having sex with our brides. Woo! And something about Clint that rubs me a little off. It's something that rubs me a little off. I don't think he's a bad person, but I was like, I think that's a weird thing to toast to. And then he also asked them, hey, you guys ready to be with the same vagina for the rest of your lives? That's normally a question that a single person asks a person getting married. If you are the person getting married and you ask that question, that means that's something that's been on your mind that you don't even know if you're ready to be with one vagina for the rest of your life. And that's why you're asking everybody else to kind of throw everybody off. I was like, I don't know about Clint. Clint is still up in the air for me. I'm not going to say I don't dislike anybody, but he's definitely up in the air for me, I think. And another question I had was thinking about their bachelor and the bachelorette parties. The past few seasons, they actually more than few, but the past seasons, they have had joint bachelor and joint bachelorette parties, and they always have strippers at both of these parties. And the question I had was, does the show automatically just do that because in their mind, okay, this is what a bachelor and bachelorette party does? Are they doing it to kind of catch the people being inappropriate to make us believe, oh, they're not really ready for marriage? Is that like for our sake to see them, in this environment? The people ask for? Do they ever ask the brides and the grooms, hey, what kind of bachelor and bachelorette party do you want? Because I know for me, and I had a conversation with my mother last night, I am not a stripper kind of gal. When I got married, I had a bridal shower. My bachelorette party, we did not do strippers because my friends know that the way my mind works, it's too logical to enjoy a stripper. Because all I'm thinking about is, okay, you're dancing for me. I'm giving you money, but then you're not even coming home with me. I'm paying you to dance for me. I can dance by myself for free. That money could be used for candy, for gas, for a book, for some makeup. Like my mind just does all of that I can't really enjoy it. It seems like a waste of money to me. And, if you're into that, I'm definitely not knocking you. I just know for me, it's not really for me. So if I was on the show, I'd be like, I don't want to be here. This does nothing for me. As a person picking me up, woo, like it literally does nothing for me at all. So I'm very curious to know if they even talk to the brides and the grooms about the bachelor and bachelorette party to see what they want, or if they just do this. I assume that they just do it without really consulting them. That's my assumption. But yeah, that was the first episode of Married at First Sight. Again, I'm kind of giving Clint a little bit of the side eye. Kirsten, I'm giving her a little bit of the side eye as well. But I do think that all the women are beautiful. Clint is not that attractive to me. The little shaggy hair, full beard is a little much for me. But Gina may like that. I don't know what she likes. I'm not her. But regardless, that's my take on the episode last night and my, I'm going to say red flags. I don't have any red flags just yet. Yeah, no red flags just yet. But that's what happened last night. Next week, we're going to see at least one wedding. I'm hoping we'll see more than one wedding next week. That would be great. At least 3. But we'll see. Regardless, I will be here next week to talk about what happens in episode 2 for season 16 of Married at First Sight. Make sure you like this video, you share the video, you comment, you subscribe, and you click the notification bell. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.